During the Drake-Kendrick Lamar beef of 2024, Drake mostly missed with every shot he took, but he did get in one decent jab.
Hey, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
Now, it is of course hypocritical for Drake to use Kendrick's Grammy wins against him, considering how badly Drake wants them himself. He's still angry at losing to Esperanza Spalding 15 years ago.
Esperanza Spalding was getting all the praises. Who give a fuck, Michelle Obama put you on a playlist.
But whether or not he's the right messenger, Drake grabbed onto something important here. On some level, it is shameful to win a Grammy. You should not want the approval of the people who give out these awards. And as proof of that, all we have to do is look back at the one Grammys where Kendrick's awards went to someone else.
Make some noise for Kendrick Lamar!
In 2014, Kendrick Lamar was maybe too new to the scene to be the awards darling he would later become. But he was already the man to watch after the momentum of his debut album, the instant classic Good Kid, Mad City. He tore up the Grammy stage that night in a legendary performance that briefly made Imagine Dragons seem exactly as cool as he was, and he was nominated for a whole bunch of awards, including Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Album, and Best New Artist. All four of those he lost. 2.
And the Grammy goes to Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Macklemore. What were we doing?
What?
It's gonna take some time to untangle the Macklemore moment, which is now more than 10 years past and more feels like something we must have imagined.
Walk into the club like, what up, I got a big cock.
For the sake of history, yes, for about 15 months prior to those Grammys, a middle-class white guy from Seattle was the hottest rapper alive and close to the hottest person in music, period. Look at this, Source Magazine, Man of the Year.
I'm gonna pop some tags.
How did this happen? It certainly wasn't something I predicted at the end of 2012 when a silly little song about secondhand fashion called Thrift Shop started to gain traction. But all through 2013, Ben Haggerty, better known as the rapper Macklemore, along with his producer Ryan Lewis, was just dominating the country with 2 #1 hits off their album The Heist.
We give it to the people, spread it across the country.
He was different. He came firmly from the underground. He was completely independent. He was like only the second unsigned artist ever to have a #1 hit. He had some pretty great hooks and beats, and he was just fun to have around. And he also seemed genuinely like an actually good guy. He had a whole ass song supporting gay marriage, which at the time, having a rapper say this stuff and have it blow up and be like a mainstream thing, it felt like we were witnessing a real turning point in something. But by the time he got those Grammy nominations, a serious backlash was brewing. Macklemore as a new presence in pop culture was a breath of fresh air. Macklemore as the biggest artist in hip-hop, bigger than literally everyone except Drake and Nicki maybe, that proposition was a lot harder to support. Because it wasn't like he was an all-time great or anything. We all saw why Macklemore was that big. We all knew it. He was white. It was because he was unthreatening and because he was white. Mac was pretty far from the first white rapper, but they were still pretty scarce, so his whiteness was unignorable, and he was more aware of it than anybody. Macklemore had 2 #1 hits in 2013, which is 2 more than literally any other black lead artist had that year, including Drake, Rihanna, or even goddamn Flo Rida. None of them had a #1, which made Macklemore's big year all the more glaring. His success started to look and feel just wrong. And by Grammy night, the fact that he was winning awards over Kendrick, and also, Drake, Kanye, Jay-Z.
Wow, we're here on this stage right now.
The injustice was just too much to stomach. I doubt he would have named that album The Heist if he'd known it was gonna perpetrate the biggest robbery in awards history. And Macklemore was absolutely feeling the pressure, leading to the moment that would define Macklemore's future. Texting Kendrick Lamar to tell him that he should have won, and then posting the text on Instagram.
Writing, "You got robbed. I wanted you to win. You should have. It's weird and sucks that I robbed you."
The response was spread out between annoyance, embarrassment, and just pointing and laughing.
Posting the text message on Instagram was not the move. It didn't come off as authentic.
Till Mac actually hands Kendrick the award, they're just words.
It was the definitive act of performative white guilt that would mark him as lame forever. A move that would forever rob him of his coolness. Or at least that's how it seemed at the time, but come on. Let's be real, this was absolutely in character, right? It's not like his appeal was being this super smooth guy. You know, he had a fun little song about thrift shopping, and he mixed that in with some actual earnest, straightforward songs about serious topics like his struggle with drugs. So this is just Macklemore being the guy we already knew he was. So that shouldn't distract his fans from what they liked about him in the first place. Right? We can move on. Assuming that Macklemore moves on.
I couldn't escape. I've been escaping the whole time. I had to finally look at the mess we had made. In all its lacquered glory and tarnished failures, stare at it, and then leave. I was too comfortable. I didn't know how the ink would stick to the page, how to let go of the anxiety and the suffocating fear that latched onto my vocal cords. I had to figure out.
We're not getting another thrift shop, are we?
Look at the mess. Not just the one that we created, but the one that is the very fabric of our country.
In 2016, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis released their second full-length LP, This Unruly Mess I've Made, an ambitious album that covers a bunch of fun Macklemore topics like mopeds, doing goofy dances, parenthood, eating too much and getting fat, the profound evils of the pharmaceutical industry and of capitalism in general.
Capitalism.
And most famously, it's Piece de Resistance, a song about his own white privilege that literally goes for nearly 9 minutes.
White supremacy protects the privilege I hold. White supremacy is the soil, the foundation, the cement, and the flag that flies outside of my home.
Arguably, this should have all been on brand, but no one seemed to know what the hell to do with it. Some critics liked it. Some critics hated it. But one thing's for certain, the public didn't want it. And it's not hard to see why. After a year of discourse, carrying the weight of being the great white fraud of hip-hop, the loose, funny guy we'd met in 2013 was now touchy, defensive, and absolutely not prepared to be this famous. They had hit their ceiling, which absolutely could hold them. And it's pretty obvious why they made the lit match the main symbol of this record. At their make or break moment, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis decided to burn it all the fuck down.
I want to share with you this unruly mess I've made.
Yep, it's a mess, all right. And somebody's got to clean it up. This is Train Records. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis' second album, This Unruly Mess I've Made, starts in the exact spot you want it to. The moment of truth, the scene of the crime. January 26, 2014, the 56th Annual Grammy Awards.
I should be grateful this is my 9 to 5. Walk into the green room, alright.
This is the opening track, Light Tunnels, and it is about everything going through his head during the Grammys.
The hole in the street is staring at me. A roll away from Taylor, 2 away from J&B.
And basically it confirms a lot of what we'd already guessed. He feels out of place. He does not consider himself a peer to anyone there. You know, stuff you and I had probably figured out already. But tragically, he does not actually address the elephant in the room, the thing that we all wanted to know. What were you thinking when you sent that text, man?
Macklemore posted your text message to him.
Yeah, I think it was uncalled for.
I'm gonna do a lot of defending of Macklemore in this episode, so get ready for that, but the one thing I can't is that fucking post. If he had just said that Kendrick deserves this in the speech, like normal, or if he'd even just sent that text privately, you know, whatever, but like texting him privately and then posting it publicly, it felt so weird. Like, it was not hard to imagine yourself in Kendrick's place, being put on the spot by this awkward, try-hard white guy, and then watching him broadcast it to the world, like, you know, see, I'm cool, please like me. I'm not gonna lie, it really rubbed me wrong. It just made him look neurotic in a way that I did not like. Yes, the award was bullshit, but all awards are bullshit. Try and be a little chill. Now, of course, when I say I can't defend it, I mean I don't want to defend it. But obviously I can very easily. Even Kendrick himself did that.
They don't take nothing away from him anyway, because I know Where his heart is at, he cool. He a cool dude,
Because
but
we all knew it wasn't his fault. The Grammys put him in a no-win situation. How was he supposed to handle it? The way he handled it was wrong, but was there a right way? Honestly, I can't say. In fact, I'm going through the blogs and I'm finding people like genuinely angry at him. Like, not just embarrassed, but like offended. And it's reminding me that, like, Christ, 2014 was probably the worst time possible to win a Grammy.
Feminist blogger criticized the singer, who is 16 years old, for singing racist lyrics.
Christ, what an awful moment in music. Just a peak year for absolutely terrible discourse. Some of it was right, some of it was wrong, all of it was absolutely exhausting. Like, I think I spent several videos that year trying to determine if all about that bass was cultural appropriation or some fucking shit like that.
Artists like Iggy Azalea and Macklemore that are charged with cultural appropriations.
So now that I've had to like remember all this stuff, like, let me go over the 3 big hits and their controversies so I can just get out all my feelings about it.
But shit, it was 99 cents.
Thrift Shop, okay. This one probably has the most substantial knock against it because there are points where Macklemore is in fact literally lecturing you about how stupid you are for wearing designer clothes.
$50 for a t-shirt, that's just some ignorant bitch.
Considering that hip-hop is all about conspicuous consumption, it looked a lot like a comfortable suburban white boy looking down on black people, and that understandably rubbed people the wrong way. Now, I've made this case before in its defense, and I'll do it again. People, it's a joke song about wearing piss-smelling used clothes. He's literally wearing Batman footy pajamas in the video. That said, it's not like totally unserious, so I can't completely exonerate him here. It's in this weird zone where it's just serious enough to attract controversy without being substantial enough to really put up a defense of it. Still, is it really so terrible to say that materialism is overrated?
When I was in the 3rd grade, I thought that I was gay, cause I could draw. My uncle was, and I kept my room straight.
Of the 3 big hits from the heist, this one has aged the strangest. The big knock against it is the opening verse where he talks about how he thought he was gay once.
She's like, Ben, you've loved girls since before pre-K. Trippin'. Yeah, I guess she had a point, didn't she?
To a lot of people, this sounded like Macklemore really making sure that, you know, just cause he's supporting gay rights doesn't mean he's gay himself. Most famously by The Lonely Island.
I'm not gay, but if I were, I would marry who I like. It's not fair, I'm not gay, that the government has to say, and who can love who not gay or to which.
You know, I love those guys, but I think that joke's really unfair if it's directed at Macklemore because that's not what he's saying. And I've seen people have even harsher interpretations, like he's saying he understands the struggle because he thought he was gay for half a second when he was a kid. That would be offensive, but he's clearly not saying that either if you listen like one more line. He's saying straight people are stupid.
Bunch of stereotypes all in my head.
He's saying homophobes believe a lot of dumb things and are as dumb as he was as a 9-year-old. People also called it self-congratulatory, late to the party, not actually that brave to jump on the gay rights bandwagon by that point. And my defense of that is that, you know, if that's so true, where were all the other straight artists? Now, did I think he was saying no homo when I first heard it? Yes, obviously. It's not the most carefully composed song in history, and of his 3 hits, I definitely listened to it the least ever since, because, you know, it's not really a great song. It feels very of its moment. Once gay marriage was legal and the big LGBT struggles moved elsewhere, they didn't feel like there was a lot of use for it. A song about gay people that's by a straight person and directed at other straight people, kind of doubt it gets much play at the pride parades. Or I assume it doesn't, at least. I wouldn't know, because I'm not gay.
Not gay. Return to the Mac. Get on what it is, what it does, what it is, what it isn't.
Can't Hold Us, there wasn't actually any discourse about that, or at least not specifically about that. The only discussion it generated was whether Macklemore was a good rapper and whether you liked his white boy, ba-da-da type flow.
And I'm eating at the beat like it gave a little speed to a great white shark on shark week. Raw.
That's obviously just a taste thing, and my take is if you don't like this song, if it's too corny for you, you can't stand it, then you and I just don't have anything in common. I don't know what else to say about that.
I've never heard music like this before! It speaks to me!
But even though that got much less conversation, I think that criticism was actually the most serious secretly. Because, fun fact, and this is true, all those rap Grammys they won, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, they were actually disqualified from receiving them. This is true. The rap subcommittee decided that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis did not qualify as a hip-hop act, and the Grammys main committee took the rare step of overruling them. And on one hand, I think it'd be unfair to Macklemore to say he's not real hip-hop. On the other hand, it is true that his audience is not necessarily one that listens to a lot of rap. This is probably why there was no point after the nominations were announced that he looked comfortable at all. Crazy to look back on all of this now, right? Talking about it makes me feel like I'm going insane. Like the worst thing going on at the time was a white guy trying to be an ally too hard. For all the criticism of Macklemore for being cringy and performative, hating on him also kind of strikes me as cringy and performative. I mean, the cringy performative thing that Macklemore was doing was hating on Macklemore.
I felt the same way as a lot of the criticism.
So, where does that leave us critics? But of course, hindsight is 20/20, so let's get back to Light Tunnels, which does not explain that text to Kendrick, but basically answers the question regardless.
I forgot my belt at the hotel. Fuck, my team all scrambling to help. This sucks.
What we hear is a story of a very uncomfortable man, alone, insecure and out of place, dealing with too much too soon. It does briefly try to dispel that anxiety.
But wanna make sure I'm invited next year to the same damn party. Celebrities on aisles.
It is not very convincing.
I didn't get through freshman year to drop out as a sophomore.
And then it ends with less of a rap and more a poem that gives us the title of the album.
Cut off when they closed the gate, just in time. What will I say? Time to explain this unruly mess I've made.
And just one song in, it is pretty clear why he chose that title. So here we go. A messy, tangled web through the mind of the deeply conflicted overnight sensation, struggling with the weight of fame and privilege and the confusion of how to properly use a platform you may or may not have earned. So let's talk about mopeds. In August of 2015, a year and a half after the Grammys, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis finally returned with their next big single. And it's about mopeds.
I went to the moped store, said fuck it. The salesman's like, what up? What's your budget?
Yeah, apparently when they were out on their big tour, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis got some mopeds so that, they wouldn't have to drive the tour bus to 7-Eleven or wherever.
Everybody got Bugattis, but I'ma keep a hella 1987, head into the dealership and drop a stack and cop a Kawasaki.
A song about scooters is already way out on a limb, but this song takes some even bigger swings.
I'm headed downtown. Through the alley.
The verses all trade between Macklemore and a trio of old school legends. Cool Mo D, Grandmaster Caz from the Sugar Hill Gang, Melly Mel from the Furious Five.
Got cash in the tank, cash in the bank, and a bad little mama with the ass in my face.
And then it switches to a hook sung by the guy from Foxy Shazam.
Downtown, downtown.
A pretty long hook at that.
You don't want no beef, boy. Lord, run the streets, boy.
Arguably, Macklemore himself has the least presence of anyone on this song.
The M, the A, C, the K, sounding like a French pimp from back in the day. I take it.
How did I react to it? Okay, complete and total honesty here. The first time I heard it, I was like, he's still got it. Another winner from Macklemore. This guy's gonna be just fine. We were like in month 10 of the siege of Uptown Funk at that point, so I think I figured that people would eat it up in the same way. Everyone likes funky retro 80s jams. This is gonna be everywhere. The third time I heard this song, I was like, this guy's done. This is his last single. We're never hearing from him again. The reasons why should be obvious. First off, it's about mopeds.
Fuck a bus pass, you got a moped, man.
Even being about mopeds is not the problem. The problem is it feels like a retread of thrift shop. Instead of designer clothes, he raps about thrift shops. Instead of rapping about a fancy car, he's rapping about scooters. Also, it seems more forced than thrift shop was. Thrift shopping is genuinely a thing Macklemore is enthusiastic about. The entire Macklemore persona was created from a bunch of clothes he got at a thrift shop. It's hard to imagine he feels the same way about scooters, a thing he just discovered.
I'm like, honestly, I don't know nothing about mopeds.
But also, thrift shop caught a real vibe when it came out, right when everyone was really tired of the era of party all the time, bling and Patron club music. A backlash that would hit its peak later that year with Royals. And that made thrift shop more than just a novelty, whereas downtown is very much just a novelty.
There's layers to the shit, player. Tiramisu, tiramisu.
Plus, it's a gigantic mess. The Foxy Shazam parts are only barely connected to the verses lyrically, and even less so musically. Like, why do we have guys from the Furious Five and the Treacherous Three trying to mesh with this guy? Or Macklemore, for that matter. So no, I ultimately wasn't surprised when this kind of underperformed. It got a decent amount of play, but it never quite reached the top 10. That said, I, personally, will never stop loving this song for all the reasons I just said it was doomed to fail. It's so fucking ridiculous. I understand why someone would dislike listening to a song where the fucking thrift shop guy made Kool Moe Dee say, "Get off my mullet." I get it, I just can't possibly agree. And realizing that this wasn't the next Uptown Funk was like when I realized that no one loves Spider-Man 3 but me. And again, not no one, it just wasn't thrift shop. But for the record, even though I don't really hear it anymore, every time I've seen it mentioned, it's always positive. And if you get someone who can do it at karaoke, the room will light up if you commit. Again, if you don't like this, we're just not the same species. I should add here that Downtown was actually not technically the first song released from the album. There was another song released a week earlier called Growing Up, where Macklemore talks about parenting. He had a kid in between this album and last.
I'm still trying to figure out who I am. I don't want to mess this up or do this wrong.
He actually relapsed again and had to get sober when he found out he was going to be a dad. So I guess he wanted to make a song about it. And it features Ed Sheeran on the hook.
Who am I if I'm the person you become if I'm still growing up?
Now, I realize this may be a thing a lot of parents relate to, you know, raising a kid when you feel like you're not yet an adult yourself, but that's not really what I want from him. Huge defender of getting jiggy with it, but Just the Two of Us was never a particular favorite of mine, and I like Just the Two of Us a lot more than this. It doesn't have Ed Sheeran on it. Like, if you're not a fan of Macklemore, you're probably not a fan of Ed Sheeran for the same reason, so this combo is probably deadly to you. I obviously have complicated feelings about old Ed myself, but my problem is more Macklemore featuring Ed Sheeran. Like, one of the cool things about The Heist is that there are no big features on it. Like, the biggest outside name on that album is Schoolboy Q, and he hadn't even put out his first album yet. And the rest of the features were mostly just local artists that they knew personally. Like, you see this guy? He was literally a software engineer when the song blew up, and I think is still one now. So Macklemore, you know, the guy whose whole thing is being an independent artist, him being big enough to work with Ed Sheeran now, it feels like we're losing something.
I'm still growing up.
But anyway, those two songs were the only things we heard from Macklemore for a few months. Like, I get the sense that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis were waiting to see how they were received, and they must not have felt a lot of momentum, so they went back to the drawing board. Well, I liked it, so I can't wait to see what they come up with next. You know, something fun, something wacky.
We're tired of burying people!
Oh, right, the news. Yeah, actually, there were a lot of things happening at the time, and Macklemore felt the need to weigh in. So after a long silence after Downtown dropped, in January of 2016, the next song dropped. It was a 9-minute opus entitled White Privilege 2. You know, I thought this was going to be a fun episode to write. Like, you know, whatever happened to that Macklemore guy? And this is where I realized that it was absolutely not going to be any fun at all.
This song is called White Privilege.
So, White Privilege 1 was one of the first songs to ever get him attention way back in 2005.
But am I just another white boy who's caught on to the trend?
Where he gave his thoughts about what it meant to be a white person in black spaces.
Hip-hop started off on a block that I've never been to counteract the struggle that I've never even been through.
But for the most part, it was a normal song, you know? And it may as well be a 3-word tweet and a hashtag compared to part 2. Like, this was clearly something he put a lot of effort into. There's a dedicated website for just this one song, and it's still up. I remember there being a lot of drama over this, a lot of discussion, a lot of think pieces.
What do you think is the value or the need for specifically having a white artist speak to his white audience? Because a lot of people will say you don't need to take up space by speaking. So why do you think it is valuable?
Some people actually did really appreciate what he was trying to say, using his platform to speak out.
The intention was to reach our young white fans, or just white people in general.
Some people really did not. For some people, it was just more try-hard embarrassment from a white guy begging black people to like him.
Is Macklemore trying, did you say trying too hard, or was it just trying to seek approval?
Well, just trying to seek approval from the black community.
He's definitely trying to seek approval, because these white races, you know, on average, they already know they have white privilege.
Boy, I don't know who this caller is, but he does not know much about white people. Pitchfork, in a mild defense of it, argued that maybe a white person does need to tell other white people how white privilege works, because That Donald Trump guy seems to be winning a lot of primaries, have you noticed? Pitchfork gets a lot of shit for their badly aged takes. I think it's only fair to highlight one that aged pretty well. I wish that hadn't been the one, though.
I want to take a stance because we are not free. And then I thought about it. We are not we.
Whether the song is good or bad, I think we can all agree that this is total career suicide. I understand why he made it, but this is the kind of thing that can only work in the context of an album. So why would he release it in advance of the album as a single? Why not something easier for people to get their heads around? Something less heavy, or at least fucking shorter. Who wants to work this hard to listen to fucking Macklemore? Well, after pondering it for a little while, I think I do get it. They already tried out the radio singles, and those didn't really work. Might as well go with the most ambitious song you have and see if you can get some credit at least. So, it makes sense to me now, but how did I take it at the time? Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't listen to it. The buzz was not great. Also, it was a 9-minute Macklemore song called White Privilege 2. And also, I think a new Batman game had come out, so I was busy. Look, I've only started taking this job seriously like in the last 2 years, so I skipped it. But now I'm here. I'm here. I'm actually finally listening to it.
You could join the march, protest, scream and shout. Get on Twitter, hashtag, it seem like you're down, but they see through it all. People believe you now.
So, first impression, it's my thoughts are that I think I'm actually gonna skip this again.
Hip hop has always been political.
Sorry. We'll get back to it. I gotta build up to it. I'm sorry. Regardless, I don't think Ben and Ryan got the response they wanted there either.
Reaction towards that song.
I wouldn't use the word disappointment. I think that we knew the song was going to be very polarizing.
Like, the early word was that the record would be released in 2015, but it wouldn't actually drop until late February the next year, and I think by that point, it was just because, it's got to come out sometime. Let's just do it. But I would be remiss if I did not also mention the song that came out 2 weeks in advance of that, called Spoons.
Wish that you were next to me. Two people that were meant to be under the sheets. I'm spooning you, you're spooning. Every time
it's about how much he loves spooning with his wife.
And she's like, can you undo my bra strap? I try to play it cool in my head, I'm like, oh yeah. Then she's like, I'm tired. And I'm like, oh man, I was about to crush the coochie like a tall can. Yeah.
This only wound up as a bonus track, but I felt the need to include it in this video because Macklemore needs to be pelted with rocks for this. Oh my God.
Me and you, let's get lost in these bed sheets. At the very least, press my D against your left cheek.
See, this is why I defend Macklemore so hard, because, you save your ammo for when you really need it. Oh my God.
My boo-boo thing. Ooh. My boo-boo thing. She get too comfortable, bathroom door open when she boo-boo-ing.
Did you just call taking a shit boo-booing? Is she 5? Are you 5?
Stuck completely numb in my left arm. Her knees are bony. I need my homies. And that sounds weird, but I need my homies.
What? Why?
Feel those little prickly hairs that you miss shaving your legs and say.
This song is both cutesy and gross in a way that puts it beyond the known frontier of bad taste. Like, maybe we should all go stand in front of him and, simultaneously vomit so that he knows what he did. Anyway, the actual album. After Light Tunnels and Downtown, you get a song called Brad Pitt's Cousin.
Now my cat's more famous than you ever.
But the premise is that he's talking himself up by lying about being Brad Pitt's ugly cousin.
Brad Pitt, that's my cousin.
Angelina, show me love.
Brad Pitt, that's my cousin.
I mean, it's bad luck for him that Angelina divorced Brad Pitt literally just 6 months later. And, now Brad's kids don't talk to him, so I don't think he's doing this song anymore in concert.
Every white dude in America went to the barber shop.
Give me the Macklemore haircut.
No, that is not true. That did not happen. Alright, so looking down the track list. The first thing I noticed was there were some weird features on it, like KRS-One.
Cans in my knapsack, crossing out the wick whack. TOIS's ain't even get that.
I guess between him and the veterans on Downtown, he wanted to show he knows his rap history, but somehow showing respect to the old schoolers just makes him look nerdier. But it's not just old guys. He has some current artists like YG.
My nigga, my nigga. My nigga, my nigga. My motherfucking nigga. My nigga, my nigga.
I don't usually censor the songs on here. Maybe I should for this one.
My nigga.
I don't know, maybe that's doing too much. I don't know. I mean, like, Macklemore never said he was opposed to the street rap or like DJ Mustard stuff. Very much the opposite, in fact. Still, I didn't think one of them would actually want to collab with Macklemore. Seriously, YG? YG? Anyway, this song is called Bolo Tie. It's about how exhausted Macklemore is with the bullshit of fame.
Questioning the purchase while I'm standing there. Questioning the purpose of my rap career.
Typical post-success material. I think everyone writes one of these on their second album.
A lot of has-beens and overreactors here.
That said, this is the only time he dares to fire back and call his haters jealous.
Keeping my name in your mouth, just don't bite your tongue while you chew it. Focusing on what I'm giving back. Man, make better music.
And that line, I think, might be a shot at Macklemore's harshest critic, Drake. Drake hated Macklemore's apology to Kendrick. He called it whack, phony, ungracious, and that you shouldn't go around feeling guilty just for having mass appeal. Yeah, Drake would say that. In hindsight, he was just jealous of Macklemore's Grammy. He was pretty red-assed about it for a little bit.
Real talent doesn't always win championships, like real music doesn't always win Grammys, but we're okay.
But Drake had a specific point about Macklemore feeling unworthy of the award.
Full quote from Drizzy. You won. Why are you posting your text message? Just chill. Take your W. And if you feel you didn't deserve it, go get better. Make better music.
So using that same line to fire back at his critics,
focusing on what I'm giving back. Man, make better music.
I choose to believe that's a subliminal at Drake for being a jealous little bitch. I mean, it's probably not. Macklemore's not that kind of guy. But he already had a much better diss by apologizing to Kendrick and not him, which Drake was also very angry about. And who knows, that might have been the falling domino that led to Drake's self-destruction. And YG is blasting his critics too, but
judging me off my past. You don't see what I'm doing. When I got shot, that was headline news. Y'all use me for views, I ain't stupid.
Yeah, I don't think you guys are talking about the same things here. So it's a weird fit. There is a remix of YG's Fuck Donald Trump with him on it that I didn't know about, so I guess they're closer than I realized, but that one's a weird fit too. But looking down the track list, I see he does have a feature from a rapper who is both current and relevant, and does actually fit his vibe. That artist, Chance the Rapper. Yeah, obviously he had his own rise and fall coming up on him also for a lot of the same reasons. The song is boring, it's your typical post-fame, wow, celebrity is way harder than I thought it'd be kind of song. But I will say that this does have Macklemore blaming his burnout on, quote, capitalism.
I think about my work, I only think about my come up. Capitalism.
You and me both, brother. And also I want to point out, this is a wild way to start a verse.
Cry when she smiled with her eyes closed. I'm already afraid of tight clothes. I want all of her best friends to be white folks.
I promise I will do my video on him someday. Anyway, when the album dropped, there were actually 2 new singles from it, neither of which charted. Unfortunately, it was far too late to undo the damage, and neither of them really strike me as like hits anyway, but keeping it real, they are the best songs on the album by a lot.
21 years old, an angel was lost here. Wings clipped by the grip of 80 milligram sniffs of Oxycontin.
One of them is called Kevin. It's a tribute to a friend who OD'd and died on bad prescriptions.
But me, I don't blame Kev or his mom freebasing while pregnant with them.
Well, I don't know. You can blame his mom for that a little.
Institutions are dead, and with our lives, we play Russian roulette.
I would say this is probably the best song on the album. It's very touching, and it's the one where he actually sounds righteous again. You know, as far as Macklemore breaking down complex topics for suburban kids, this is really one of his best.
Politicians and business in jail, public defenders and judges who fail.
And you know, I've had family members die the same way, so I think this is really powerful, and I really enjoy his anger here.
From a pill that a doctor prescribed, that a drug dealing billion-dollar industry supplied, that the cops never go and profile at night.
Yeah, good shit. Fuck Big Pharma, fuck the Sacklers, fuck those fucking Jardians commercials I have to watch all the goddamn time. If you really wanted to make the case for Macklemore after 2013, this would be where you started. And then there's the other single, which I'm less high on, but it has the single best feature on the entire album, which already has a bunch of great singers and rappers, but like this is the big get. This is who I was really impressed with. the legendary rapper slash singer slash DJ slash actor, multi-award winner, beloved by all. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Idris Elba.
I challenge you to a dance-off. Hands off, no trash talk, no backwalk.
Idris Elba is maybe the best thing on this entire record.
No catcalls, no tag teams, no mascots.
If anyone ever covers Thriller, by God, get this man to be your Vincent Price. I wish the rest of the song were a little better.
I grab my ankle and pull it up and do that thing where I move my butt. I got the motherfucker, don't use it up. I say,
yeah, I don't know. That white boy flow actually is starting to bother me a little.
Your grandpa got a cock like a ham hock, hella old, hella long, looking like Matlock.
Like maybe if the beat were a little catchier and more danceable, and you know, also if it were still 2011, maybe this song could have done something.
Grandma, that's a bad mama jamma. She doing the banana, grabbing my trunk like a hammock.
Like there does come a point when you're too self-deprecating, you know? You got Idris Elba going all the way over the top, and it feels like Macklemore's not really living up to the ridiculous grandeur of the premise. Although, it's not nearly as bad as the song that comes afterward, which is about eating a lot of food.
I woke up, threw some sweatpants on, and I fed my cat, and then I walked to the mini mart. And I really want a donut, shouldn't get a donut, buy the donut, fuck it, man, it's really hard.
Yep, this is happening.
My girl's shaped like a bottle of Coke. Me, I'm shaped like a bottle of Nope.
I'm sorry, I thought I was listening to Macklemore, but apparently I accidentally picked up one of my many Weird Al records.
You know I feel good about this plate. You know I feel good about this steak. You know I feel good about this shake.
Hey, remember 2 songs ago when you were blasting Big Pharma for killing your friend?
Lost 30 pounds on that paleo, but fuck it, man, I love fried shit.
I do feel like kind of a dick for criticizing Macklemore for daring to have 2 sides, especially since I already knew that about him, but, you know, I listened to The Heist, which was an actual good album, and then I compare it to this. The goofy stuff is so much goofier, and the serious stuff is so much more serious. And one thing I really notice is that while it tries to have its comedy songs, you know, like Thrift Shop, and its message songs like Same Love, one thing it absolutely does not have is a Can't Hold Us. You know, just an uncomplicated, fun, pump-up anthem you can play at, like, sports events. The closest is Brad Pitt's cousin, but even there, he's still undercutting himself.
I'm Brad Pitt's ugly cousin.
You get the sense that Macklemore is just not feeling himself like he was 2 years earlier.
Money doesn't work, the chain doesn't work, something broken in my brain, got me praying in the dirt.
Like there's a lot more songs about being burnt out or depressed or defensive, and it just makes the record kind of a slog. I don't hear many songs on here that I actively dislike, but the energy's not there. Except for... Well, we've discussed the entire album, except, of course, the closer, the final song, White Privilege 2. I guess I put this off long enough. Here we go.
Pulled into the parking lot, parked it, zipped up my parka, joined the procession of marchers.
You ever notice he starts off all his songs like, I walked in, and or like, I woke up, like he's a screenwriter? Every song begins, Macklemore enters, stage right. I'm stalling again. I'm sorry. Let me start over. So the first part of this is about, you know, his doubts as a white person interacting with Black Lives Matter.
Is it my place to get my 2 cents? Or should I stand on the side and shut my mouth?
And you know, I certainly get that. I have had like the same internal questions about, you know, when, where, and why I should speak up, or if I'm actually helping anything, or if I'm just jerking myself off. So yeah, I absolutely get that. And I have no doubt it comes from an honest place. But, you know, the spooning song was honest too. That didn't mean anyone needed to hear it. My take on this stuff is, you know, say the thing or don't. No one needs to hear you dithering about it. Just make your decision and do it. Repeating the slogans, yeah, maybe that won't really do anything. But blathering about your indecision definitely won't help anything. That's my first reaction. We're already off to a bad start. He starts to go off about the police a little at the end, but then it's drowned out by the voices of his own critics screaming at him.
What are you doing here? Shit! The Grammy. There you go again. Co-op. You've exploited and stolen the music, the moment, the magic, the passion, the fashion you toy.
The second part is Macklemore's feelings about his own cultural appropriation.
The culture was never yours to make better. Your Miley, your Elvis, your Iggy Azalea.
It's kind of hard to get through. Feels more like he's throwing himself a pity party.
And your brand of hip-hop is so fascist and backwards that Grandmaster Flash will go slapping you bastard all the money that you...
He said the fascist? I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce.
This is, again, nothing I really want to hear. Although it was funny that Iggy Azalea got mad about it. That said, I do think he lays out why Drake's idiot comment, "just make better music," is so worthless. Even if Macklemore was the GOAT and The Heist was indisputably the best rap album of that year, it doesn't solve the issue of having a giant unearned advantage. Then we get to the third verse, which is an entirely different beat, and it's about him meeting the mom of a fan.
Seriously, my little girl loves you. She's always singing, I'm gonna pop some tags. I'm not.
And her telling him how great his music is, you know, and how much it means to the family.
Their aunt is gay. When that song came out, my son told his whole class he was actually proud.
Then it all sounds nice, but there's that creeping sense of dread where you wait for the other shoe to drop.
You're the only hip-hop that I let my kids listen to. Cause you get it, all that negative stuff, it isn't cool. Yeah, like all the guns and the drugs.
And there it is.
The bitches and the hoes and the gangs and the thugs, even the protest outside. So sad and so dumb, but cop pulls you over, it's your fault if you run.
Now this verse, I would say this is actually really good, because this is not directed at himself. This is like more directed at his fans. Like if anything, this is his stand. You know, it's an artist thinking about, what if my fans are listening to my music the extremely wrong way? A fear I think would be entirely justified. So this I will give him. I think it's pretty impressive that this guy who's like a walking love is love yard sign, I think it's impressive of him to go out and actually confront and maybe even alienate his own fans. That I do think is to his credit. So, you know, honestly, I think this actually like does build to something.
Like, we're more concerned with being called racist than we actually are with racism.
Like Macklemore in the final verse says that, you know, he does have to speak out, and it's on all of us to speak out. So maybe the first verse is justifiable to get us to the last one, where you could say he's speaking to any white person who has the same doubts he does, and he's telling them, you know, just say the damn thing.
What the fuck has happened to my voice if I stay silent when black people are dying and I'm trying to be politically correct?
Some of his harsher critics were saying this was more of Macklemore's white savior complex. That's absolutely not true. No song has ever been less self-aggrandizing. The criticism that he's hogging attention, that's not true either, because it ends with singer and poet Jamila Woods doing a little outro.
Hip-hop is not a luxury. Your silence is a luxury.
So, you know, he is literally passing the mic. So, you know, I guess this wasn't as sweaty as I was afraid it was going to be. I think this is actually justifiable as a work of art. That said, will I ever choose to listen to this ever again? Probably not. Like, I'm really not a fan of all these po-faced, serious struggle songs regardless. And the ones I do like All Right or, you know, The Bigger Picture, White Privilege 2 obviously doesn't hold a candle to any of those. Obviously this didn't become an anthem of the movement because it's not an anthem. It's hard to say what it even is. Like, some reviewers struggle to even call it a song exactly. You're not gonna be humming this one to yourself on the way to the store.
So stolen anyway, can't you see that now?
What musical purpose does it serve? I don't know. There's a good 2 minutes of the song that's literally just some guy lecturing.
There was a subdivision and the house was on fire. The fire department wouldn't show up and start putting water on all the houses because all houses matter.
Yes, someone needs to learn how white privilege works. It's not me, though. I did the reading, or I read Twitter at least, and that already taught me everything he's saying here. It doesn't really make you feel angry or righteous or motivated, and people aren't going to listen if it's not compelling musically, and they didn't listen. You have to be really invested in Macklemore the person to get through it. It just kind of makes me feel as touchy and insecure as he does. But hey, he told you what he was giving you. And I guess it is useful just for being an unvarnished portrait of Ben Haggerty's fractured psyche at that moment. Like, he told you what he was giving you. An unruly mess. And he delivered.
I said what I needed to say.
The album did nothing. When it dropped, Macklemore did an interview with the New York Times, and when asked about the lukewarm numbers so far, he was like, you know, maybe it's for the best that this album not do very well. From other artists, I'd call that cope, but Macklemore, I think, means it. I checked out what the charts looked like when Downtown hit. Like, further down there, you can see the actual pop rapper of the moment, Drake, who was always more comfortable in the starring role. And you can see J. Cole, who probably has something like the career and the reputation Macklemore would have wanted for himself. But you can also see the rapper whose career he definitely didn't want.
The rap gang got it all wrong. We ain't
about to go spend money just to flex on a wheel.
Lil Dicky had his first charting single that year, and the premise was basically the same as the one from Thrift Shop. But Lil Dicky always had his eye on becoming huge, and he was willing to do anything to get it, even if his actual talent didn't warrant it. And he very much did not do much thinking about what responsibility he had as a white man in a black art form.
What are you doing for the Black Lives Matter movement?
I'm not doing much. Like, I'm not a very cause-based person.
Yeah, it's hard to say that this is a fucking improvement, right? But then again, what good did thinking about this stuff do Macklemore? After he dropped off the charts, a whole ton of white rappers showed up in his wake, to the point where white rappers became no longer a curiosity, and basically none of them think much about the topic. Macklemore may very well be the last rapper to feel any kind of way about being white. The critic and poet Hanif Abdurraqib said he saw Macklemore do White Privilege 2 at a festival where the dude just walked off in the middle of the song, and in his place, 2 black poets came out to read verses about gentrification. According to him, Macklemore was basically the best white rapper. Instead of being comfortable with money and fame, he used his platform to confront his fans and make them uncomfortable, and blew up his own career in the process. The album probably wasn't in danger of winning them any more awards, but just in case, they chose not to submit it to the Grammys anyway. I get the feeling that making the album was a terrible struggle, because afterwards, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis decided their creative partnership had been completely exhausted, and they've only worked together on 1 or 2 songs since. Macklemore's had a couple other singles, but nothing that reached the top 40, and with his own continuing struggle with drugs and at least 1 relapse since, he hasn't really put out very much. But he has gotten a good amount of attention and reevaluation for being one of the few artists, and certainly one of the first artists, to speak out on Palestine, and even make music about it, giving a lot of people a lot of pause about whether they were too harsh on him. Does that mean that if you thought his shit was irredeemably corny back in 2013 that you need to change your mind? No. Yes, you were all wrong and you're all bad people. I'm kidding. I don't know. Well, that was absolutely no fun at all. But the thing is, we've already spent so much time thinking about this, so it probably doesn't hurt to do a little more once we've got some distance from it. For example, here's another thing people have spent a lot of time dissecting way too much, and yet probably also deserves some reevaluation. South Park. Is it still a brilliant satire that takes down both sides? Or did it create a generation of lazy idiots and casual racists that led us directly to our current moment of crisis? Or maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle.
You see, I learned something today.
Well, my dear close personal friend Lindsay Ellis has a whole new video about South Park and its recent decision to become the leaders of the resistance. It's called, Is There Still a Special Place in Hell for South Park? You can watch that video exclusively on Nebula, the creator-built platform that's home to smart, weird, one-of-a-kind shows that you will not find anywhere else. You'll also find exclusives from Maggie Mae Fish and FD Signifier and other people who are smarter and more talented than I am. And get this, they also give out lifetime subscriptions that last for literally as long as both you and Nebula exist. Now, usually it's $500, but if you use my code, you'll get it for only $300, so, a 40% discount. Or if you just want to do the yearly subscription, you can get a full 50% off that too, using my code. So that'd only be $30 a year or $2.50 a month. That's a great deal. There's no ads, there's no algorithm, just high quality stuff made by great, non-slop artists and video makers. So if you want to watch more Lindsay, use my link to get 50% off. And again, that's just $30 a year or $2.50 a month. Click the link, scan the QR code, and start watching now. Thank you and good night.